I'm Mike Pastor, Editorial Director at Martech. What follows is an AI generated audio deep dive on the bulk email restrictions issued by Yahoo, Google, and Microsoft. This content is based on the popular Bulk Email Restrictions What You Need to Know article on martech.org. If you visit that page, you'll also have the ability to customize its contents based on your job role using our Martech bot. We hope you find this useful to your work. And thanks for being part of the Martech community.
Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome, everyone, to a deep dive. We're diving headfirst today into some, really significant shifts happening right now with email. We're talking major providers, Google, Yahoo, Microsoft. They've rolled out some hefty new requirements for anyone sending bulk email.
That's right. And it's not just, a minor technical update. These are pretty fundamental changes that impact a huge number of organizations, possibly in ways they haven't quite grasped yet. We've really dug into the material you shared, and it lays out exactly what's going on.
And that's really our mission today, to go through this source material, understand exactly what these changes mean, why they're happening, who is truly affected. And like you said, it's probably more people than you initially think, and most importantly, what you can actually do about it.
Yeah.
We'll try and pull out the core insights, cut through some of the noise, and hopefully leave you feeling, pretty well informed on this absolutely crucial topic.
Absolutely, because this really isn't just for the marketing teams anymore.
Right, exactly. So let's jump right in and try to understand this new email landscape. What seems immediately clear from the material is how Google, Yahoo, and Microsoft are now largely marching in lockstep on these requirements for bulk email senders.
They've definitely created a more unified baseline than we've seen before. And the first essential definition is who actually counts as a bulk sender in their eyes.
Okay.
Generally, they're talking about organizations sending 5,000 or more messages per day to personal Gmail or Outlook.com domains.
Okay, 5,000 a day.
And crucially, that definition includes addresses like Hotmail.com and Live.com too.
Got it. So 5,000 emails in a single day to those personal inboxes. That's a threshold I imagine many organizations might hit, maybe without even realizing it, until their deliverability starts to drop.
Oh, definitely.
And this wasn't just flicking a switch, was it? How did the timeline play out here?
No, it's been a phased rollout. Google and Yahoo, they kicked off enforcement for their main rules back on February 1st, 2024. Google started off with temporary errors first, sort of giving senders a chance to fix things up.
A bit of a warning shot.
Kind of, yeah. And then they began rejecting a percentage of non-compliant traffic in April 2024, and they've been gradually increasing that rejection rate.
Okay, and Microsoft, they joined in a bit later.
Yes. Microsoft announced their matching restrictions in April 2025. Now, initially, they planned to just route non-compliant messages to the junk folder starting May 5th, 2025. But interestingly, they actually updated that guidance just before the deadline.
Oh.
Yeah, they changed it to reject those messages entirely, starting on that same date, May 5th, 2025.
Wow, okay. So across the board now, if you're a bulk sender and you're not compliant, the penalty is just outright rejection. Your emails just, they don't get through.
Pretty much, yeah. That's the bottom line.
Now, the source material points out something interesting about Yahoo's scope specifically. It sounds like it's much wider than just people with @yahoo.com's addresses.
That's a really, really important detail for anyone sending email. Yahoo manages email for a whole list of domains beyond just their own. We're talking AOL.com, Netscape.com, Frontier.net, Rogers.com, Sky.com, Verizon.net. That's quite a list.
It is. And as of October 2024, Cox.net email addresses are also being managed by Yahoo. So if you're sending to any of those, you absolutely need to meet Yahoo's requirements.
Right. That suddenly brings a lot more recipients under this whole compliance umbrella. Okay, so let's get into the core of what's actually required. The sources break it down into, three main pillars of compliance that every bulk sender needs to nail. These are the absolute non-negotiables now. So pillar one is all about authentication. All three providers, Google, Yahoo, Microsoft, they demand that bulk senders authenticate their outgoing emails using, established best practices.
Okay.
This is essentially proving you want who you say you are, and that your email hasn't been tampered with along the way.
And there are three key mechanisms sort of working together here.
Right, and you need to set up all three if you're sending bulk email. First, there's SPF, that's Sender Policy Framework. You can think of it like a public record that lists which mail servers are officially authorized to send email from your domain.
Okay, so you're publishing a list of your official sending platforms or servers?
Exactly. It helps the receiving servers spot unauthorized emails trying to, spoof your domain.
Makes sense. What's next?
Next is DKIM, Domain Keys Identified Mail. This adds a digital signature to your outgoing emails. It verifies two things: that the message was sent by someone authorized to use your domain, and that the content hasn't been altered since it was signed.
Okay, right. So like a tamper-proof seal on the envelope confirming it really came from you and hasn't been opened or changed.
Precisely. Good analogy. And the third piece tying it together is DRRs. That stands for Domain-Based Message Authentication, Reporting, and Conformance. This really builds on SPF and DKIM.
How so?
Well, DNRC is where you, the domain owner, publish a policy telling providers what they should do if an email claiming to be from your domain fails either the SPF or the DKIM checks. Should they reject it? Should they quarantine it? Maybe put it in spam?
So you get to specify the action.
You do. And importantly, DMRC enables reporting, so you actually get feedback. You can see which of your emails are passing or failing authentication, and it helps you spot potential spoofing attempts against your domain.
Okay. So DMRC is kind of the instruction manual and the feedback loop. So for bulk senders, STF, DKIM, and DRH, all three have to be correctly set up and working. That's pillar one.
Correct.
What's pillar two?
Pillar 2 is all about keeping your spam rates extremely low. And Google is very specific here. They require your reported spam rate, which you track in Google Postmaster Tools, to be below 0.10%. That's 0.1%.
0.1%.
And critically, it must never reach 0.30% or higher. If it hits that 0.3 mark, you're in trouble.
That 0.1% is a tiny, tiny margin. And the sources point out this is based on recipients actually marking emails as spam. That's not just a technical thing. It's heavily influenced by whether the receiver feels they're getting value from your email.
That is the core challenge, isn't it? These spam reports are ultimately subjective user feedback. It's someone clicking that button. The material does offer a couple of strategies, though, to help navigate this tight restriction. One interesting one is paying attention to when you send.
Send times.
Really? Yeah, the idea is that high volume sent right on the hour, or maybe the half hour, might be more susceptible to mass spam reports, simply because that's when people tend to sit down and process big batches of email in their inbox. They might be quicker to hit spam on things they don't immediately want.
Interesting. So maybe try sending at like 10.07 instead of 10.00.
Potentially. Or maybe more strategically, leverage preference centers really well. The sources strongly suggest giving users very granular control over the frequency and the specific content categories they receive.
Right. Let them choose.
Exactly. Sending less email overall, but making sure it's what people actually opted in for, can drastically improve engagement on the emails they do get. And that reduces the likelihood of them marking something as spam just because they're getting too much.
That makes a lot of sense. Give people control, empower them, and they're less likely to just hit that spam button out of sheer frustration or volume. Okay, so that's authentication and spam rates. Pillar 3.
Pillar 3 is about making it ridiculously easy to unsubscribe. Simple as that. For marketing messages or really any emails you subscribe to, you absolutely must support one-click unsubscribe functionality.
Yeah, the sources call this table stakes for experienced marketers, and honestly, it really feels like it should be by now.
It really should. I mean, any hesitation to provide a super easy one-click unsubscribe signals, well, it signals a focus on just list size over list quality and actual engagement.
Right.
And the material links this directly to hurting your other engagement metrics, like open rates. If unsubscribing is a pain, people just stop opening or they disengage or just
Don't click. They mark it as spam.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which, of course, feeds right back into pillar 2 and that critical spam rate. It's all interconnected.
So making it easy to unsubscribe actually encourages better practices like segmentation and targeting content, because you're forced to focus on keeping the people who want your email, not just trapping those who don't.
Precisely. It shifts the focus to sending relevant content to an audience that's actually engaged. Quality over just quantity.
Okay, so we have these 3 pillars: authentication, low spam rates, easy unsubscribe. Why the big push now, though? Why are Google, Yahoo, Microsoft all getting so strict at roughly the same time? What's the motivation?
Well, beyond the obvious reason, which is genuinely combating spam and security threats, and let's be clear, even the spam that does get through is a huge problem, especially, phishing and malware risks The sources reveal a pretty key business driver for the providers themselves.
Oh, do tell. Unpack that a bit.
The inbox, especially for companies like Google, is a hugely valuable asset. It's a prime location for advertising. It's a hook into their broader data ecosystem. I mean, it's central to their business.
Right.
And the material points out that they've been actively working to protect this revenue source for years. Think back to when Gmail introduced the different tabs, primary social promotions. That was an earlier move.
Ah, yeah, I remember that.
These new rules are another strategic move.
Yeah.
They filter out the noise, they keep the inbox valuable and trustworthy for users, which keeps users in the inbox. And it also responds to the trend of people potentially shifting communication to other channels, like SMS or in-app messages. They want the inbox to remain central.
So it's really about keeping the inbox clean, relevant, and trustworthy so that users stick around, click on ads, and generally find value in it, which ultimately supports their business model.
Precisely. It's about user experience directly impacting their bottom line.
Okay, now this next point, this is where it gets really interesting, I think. And frankly, this might be the biggest aha moment for a lot of people listening. It's not just the marketing department that needs to be paying attention here, is it? Who is truly affected by these rules?
This is probably the most critical insight from the material we looked at. The requirements apply at the domain level.
Okay, what does that mean in practice?
It means all email sent by your organization using that specific domain name is subject to these rules. Not just the email sent from your main marketing automation platform, like MailChimp or HubSpot or whatever.
All email from @yourcompany.com, basically.
Exactly. And this has huge implications for other teams, particularly sales teams.
Right. The sources specifically call out sales teams, don't they? Especially BDRs, SDRs, the business development reps, sales development reps.
Absolutely. Those teams often rely heavily on outbound, sometimes cold email tactics. They're often sending high volumes, sometimes with the help of sales engagement platforms like Outreach or Salesloft or even, AI-driven tools now.
Yeah, volume is often key for them. And the challenge is these teams often operate pretty independently from marketing, right? They might not report to the same person. Their goals are different. They're focused on hitting outreach numbers.
And they're likely not email deliverability experts. They're probably not familiar with setting up SPF, DKIM, DNRC, or closely monitoring spam complaint rates generated by their own outreach.
That sounds like it could create a significant challenge. One source even called it a potential turf battle within organizations.
It really could. Marketers might see their carefully managed domain reputation, which affects all company email, being put at risk by the sending practices of other departments. If a sales team's high volume, maybe unauthenticated or perhaps just poorly received cold outreach, spikes the spam reports.
It hurts deliverability for everyone.
Exactly, including critical transactional emails like password resets or order confirmations or the marketing team's own carefully crafted campaigns.
Yikes. Okay, so there's a really critical need for partnership here, isn't there? Marketing needs visibility, somehow, across all the systems sending email using the company domain. And maybe they should even take the lead on ensuring these authentication standards and just general good sending practices are understood and implemented organization-wide. Maybe advising the IT teams or whoever manages the DNS settings.
That cross-functional awareness and, frankly, cooperation is absolutely key now. You just can't have marketing operating in their own silo, managing deliverability for just one platform, and ignoring everything else being sent from the domain.
Right. Total domain health is the goal. Now, you mentioned deliverability. Was there an exemption mentioned for certain types of sending? Something about Google Workspace, maybe?
Yes, that's a piece of good news for certain B2B senders. The Google bulk email restrictions that we've been discussing do not apply to emails sent to Google Workspace accounts.
Okay, so clarify that. Google Workspace accounts are the business or educational accounts hosted on Google servers, right? Like at company.com if that company uses Google for email.
Correct. So if you're sending, say, 6,000 emails a day, but all of them are going to people at companies or schools that use Google Workspace for their email, those specific emails are not subject to these new personal Gmail bulk sender rules we're talking about.
Ah, okay. So the enforcement, the 5,000 threshold, the 0.10% spam rate that specifically targets email sent to personal@gmail.com accounts.
Correct. That's the focus of these particular Google requirements and enforcement actions.
That's a really significant clarification for B2B-focused companies to keep in mind. Definitely reduces the immediate panic for some, perhaps.
It does, although authentication like SPF, DKIM, DMRC is still best practice for all sending, but the strict bulk sender rules apply to personal Gmail.
Good point. Okay, let's dig into some of the provider-specific details and maybe potential solutions mentioned in the sources. Microsoft, for instance, they have an additional specific volume limit, don't they, besides the general authentication stuff?
They do. Microsoft Exchange Online. So if you're using Microsoft 365 for your email, has introduced what they call an external recipient rate, or ERR limit.
Okay, ERR limit. What is it?
It's a limit of sending to 2,000 external recipients from a single Exchange Online mailbox within any 24-hour period. And importantly, this is a sublimit within their larger existing 10,000 total recipient limit per day.
Okay, wait. So only 2,000 emails out to non-company addresses from one person's mailbox in a day. That doesn't sound like a huge number if you're doing, say, high-volume sales outreach from your own account.
It's not, especially for certain roles. And the sources explain why Microsoft did this. Exchange Online just wasn't fundamentally built or intended for bulk marketing or high-volume transactional email sending. This ERR limit is basically a measure to reduce abuse and ensure, fair usage of the system for its core purpose, business communication.
Right, not bulk sending. When does that kick in?
It's being phased in. It started in January 2025 for brand new Exchange Online accounts, or tenants. And it's rolling out gradually between July and December 2025 for existing tenants.
Okay. And if you do have legitimate bulk email needs, but you're hosted on Microsoft's cloud, what's their official advice?
Microsoft's recommendation, according to the source, is to switch those bulk sending workloads to Azure Communication Services for email. It's a platform designed for that kind of scale.
Use the right tool for the job, basically.
Essentially, yeah. The source also provides the specific rejection message you'll likely see if you hit this ERR limit, or if you fail the authentication requirements for other reasons when sending to Microsoft domains. It's a 550, 5.7.515 access denied message, and it explicitly mentions the sending domain not meeting the required authentication level.
Okay, so at least the error message points you towards the authentication problem. Good to know. What about Yahoo? Anything new or specific from their side recently? We mentioned they manage a lot of domains now.
Yes, they made a positive move. Yahoo introduced a new, much-improved Sender Hub dashboard back in May 2024. The whole idea is to give senders much better visibility into how their email is performing, specifically when sending to Yahoo and all those domains they manage, like AOL, Cox.net, Verizon.net, etc.
Okay, better visibility. What kind of tools or data does this Sender Hub offer?
It allows senders to enroll in and manage their complaint feedback loop, or CFL. That's really crucial because it sends you reports when someone marks your email as spam.
So you know exactly which campaigns or messages are causing problems.
Exactly. It helps you pinpoint problematic content or maybe list segments. The hub also provides information on implementing things like AMP for email, which allows for more interactive content, structured data, and schema for enhancing how your emails appear, and also Be Me.
Be Me. That's the brand indicators for message identification, right? Lets you show your logo in the inbox.
That's the one. Plus, the hub offers general deliverability stats and even explanations for common error codes you might encounter when sending to their network.
It actually sounds really valuable, especially given that wide range of domains Yahoo now oversees. Giving senders tools to manage their reputation there seems like a good step.
It's definitely a move towards giving senders more control and, importantly, more insight into what's actually happening on the receiving end with your emails.
Okay, shifting gears slightly, but still related. The sources talk quite a bit about list management strategies in light of these new rules. And they mention something interesting, that new subscribers are actually the riskiest segment now. Why is that?
Yeah, that's a key point. New subscribers are considered risky primarily because they haven't demonstrated a consistent pattern of engagement with you yet. You don't know if they really want your emails long term.
Okay.
So if you immediately start bombarding them with everything you send, and they don't engage right away, they don't open, they don't click the gate, they are much more likely to just hit the spam button out of annoyance or irrelevance. And that, remember, directly impacts your critical spam rate metric.
Right, back to that razor-thin 0.10% limit with Google, for example. Every spam complaint from a new subscriber hurts more, potentially. So what's the recommended approach then? How should senders treat new contacts differently?
The sources suggest a couple of key initiatives. First, be much more rigorous and faster about deciding when to remove people from your main ongoing broadcast sends. Identify who's engaging early versus who isn't, and move those non-engagers much more quickly into specific re-engagement campaigns or maybe just warm-up sequences rather than letting them just sit on your main list, dragging down engagement metrics.
So don't let potentially cold leads linger on your primary high-volume list for too long. hoping they'll eventually engage. Be proactive.
Exactly. And second, set up stronger automations based on user engagement right from the very beginning, from the moment they subscribe. Use welcome sequences, maybe offer choices in a preference center early on, and use their initial actions, or lack thereof, to quickly identify and segment new subscribers.
So you move the engaged ones into a clearly engaged segment quickly.
Right. The material says this significantly increases the perceived value of the messages you send to that core engaged group.
Yeah.
And interestingly, building that healthy engaged list actually gives you more latitude, more breathing room for future acquisition efforts because your overall domain reputation stays stronger.
That's a smart shift in thinking. Focus intensely on cultivating genuine engagement from day one, rather than just adding names to a list.
Precisely.
And this focus on engagement and maybe sending less, but more relevant, email naturally leads into another big theme in the sources, the idea of a multi-channel approach. This seems particularly relevant for those outbound sales teams we talked about, who've been so heavily reliant on email.
Yes, absolutely. Because, as we discussed, outbound sales has traditionally leaned almost exclusively on just two main channels, email and phone calls, with email becoming so much more restricted and heavily monitored now.
Relying only on those two channels becomes a much bigger risk.
It really does. A risk to your deliverability and just your overall effectiveness if emails aren't getting through or are immediately marked as spam.
So the recommendation is to diversify the touch points, spread the outreach effort.
Absolutely. The strong recommendation from the sources is to leverage a more comprehensive multi-channel approach using strategies like account-based marketing or ABM.
And how does that help specifically in this context?
Well, the sources explain that ABM, done well, exposes prospects to your messages and your brand across multiple channels, simultaneously maybe targeted display ads, relevant content on social media, and carefully timed email. You're not putting all your communication eggs in that increasingly fragile email basket.
Right. And presumably that helps protect your core email domains too, by reducing the pressure to send huge volumes of cold outreach solely via email just to hit a number.
It definitely does. And it also provides much richer insights. The sources stress the need for visibility into all the systems that are sending messages on your behalf, including those sales engagement platforms.
Why is that visibility so important?
It's not just about making sure the sales team's emails are authenticated, although that's crucial now. It's about understanding how that sales outreach actually performs compared to other marketing channels. How do the different touches influence recipient behavior across the entire journey? Are sales emails complementing or maybe even undermining other efforts?
Getting that holistic view is key. It's framed almost as an opportunity, isn't it? An opportunity for marketing to have a bigger influence and a deeper understanding of the entire customer and prospect journey, including those crucial early sales interactions that maybe they didn't have much insight into before.
It really forces that broader perspective, yeah. Moving beyond just looking at email metrics in isolation.
Okay, one last specific detail before we wrap up. The sources also touch on Google's guidelines for something that seems pretty simple on the surface but is clearly important to them. The email display name, that from field you see in your inbox.
Yes, Google actually issued some specific guidelines here, and they explicitly warned that misusing the display name, trying to be tricky with it, can negatively impact your deliverability specifically to personal Gmail accounts.
Okay, so what's the core rule they want people to follow? What makes a good display name in their eyes?
The main thing is pretty straightforward. Your display name should clearly identify who the sender is. It needs to be a consistent, clear, and accurate statement of your identity, your name, or your organization's name. Basically, be honest and clear.
Makes sense. And what are some specific things they explicitly say you should avoid doing in that display name?
Right, they list several don'ts. Don't include subject line content or bits of the message content in the display name itself. Don't use it deceptively in any way. Don't put the recipient's name in your display name. Don't try to make it look like a reply, like starting with re, or part of an ongoing threaded conversation when it isn't.
Okay.
And definitely don't use emojis or non-standard characters just to try and create fake graphics or stand out in a spammy-looking way.
Got it. So basically, just stick to who you are, clearly and accurately. Simple advice, but obviously vital enough for Google to specifically call it out as impacting deliverability.
It seems to be another layer in their overall effort to maintain trust and a cleaner, more predictable inbox environment for their users.
Okay, let's try and bring all this together then. The big picture is sending bulk email just got significantly more complex and frankly more unforgiving. The major providers, Google, Yahoo, Microsoft, are demanding foundational technical authentication using SPF, DKIM, and DRMARC. They're requiring extremely low spam complaint rates, often below 1%, and they're mandating easy one-click unsubscribes for any subscribed email.
And critically, this doesn't just apply to the marketing department's campaigns.
Right. It applies to all emails sent from your organization's domain. This creates real challenges and absolutely requires coordination with other teams, especially sales teams using high-volume outreach tools. We also heard about Microsoft's specific external recipient limits for Exchange Online, pushing bulk senders towards Azure, and the fact that Yahoo manages a whole host of legacy domains you might not even realize fall under their rules now, like AOL and Cox.net.
Navigating all this successfully really requires smarter list management, rethinking how you acquire and nurture new subscribers, focusing on engagement from day one. And increasingly, it points toward adopting a multi-channel approach, especially for outbound-focused teams, to reduce reliance solely on email.
And perhaps the most critical thread running through all of this is the need for strong partnership, visibility, and a truly unified strategy across your entire organization, particularly between sales and marketing. Marketing really needs to be aware of all the sending happening under the company domain and probably help guide the technical setup and best practices across the board.
That integration, that understanding across the full customer journey, it feels more important than ever now. It's a significant shift.
It really is. So here's a final thought for you, our listener, to consider. Given these increasingly strict requirements from the major email providers and this undeniable need for a truly holistic view of all your organization's outreach efforts, email, and otherwise, how does this fundamentally reshape your understanding of email's role within your overall strategy? Is it still the workhorse it once was? Or does its role need redefining? And maybe more urgently, what concrete steps do you need to take, perhaps starting tomorrow, to ensure everyone in your organization who sends bulk email is not only aware of these new rules, but is actively, demonstrably playing by them?
It's definitely a significant challenge, no doubt about it, but maybe also a clear push towards ultimately better, more respectful, and more effective communication practices across the board.
Well said. A challenge, but maybe a necessary evolution. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.